Hey there, welcome to the Xennial Mindset Show. I'm Marie Mack, born in 1983.
And I'm Enri Pasquino from the crew of 1977. Together, our mission is to unravel the intricate layers of the Xennial mindset, where cherished memories of cassette tapes and rotary phones seamlessly coexist with cutting-edge technology and social media frenzy.
We'll also have some awesome guest Xennials dropping by, bringing their own stories and insights to the table.
So, whether you're a fellow Xennial craving a trip down memory lane, or just curious to know what the Xennial mindset is all about, stick around.
The Xennial Mindset Show is your backstage pass to our world where nostalgia meets innovation. Let's get started. Welcome back, everyone. And we are here today with part 2 of our travel adventures series. Last week, we talked a lot about the types of travels we used to do when we were kids, just a little reminiscing there. Please go back to the last episode and listen, because we're going to kind of add on some more current culture and different ideas today. Thankfully, Anne-Marie and I are avid travelers. We have a lot of thoughts and opinions about this and really believe in not only supporting the different cultures that are out there, but then also just experiencing them in a big way. So without further ado, we're going to get going. We're first going to open up our conversation about sustainable and ethical travel. Anne-Marie and I were just having a conversation about this, and we understand that as Xennials, it's important to stay in the current culture. But a little confession is this is not really a consideration a lot for either one of us. Anne-Marie, you want to share a little bit about, like, I don't know, you just sort of said you were like, nope, I don't take it into consideration. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think that we're bringing this awareness up a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think, if we think back about our earlier years in travel, I am from the airline industry. So I saw the evolution of travel, and, I can think probably, and my math is probably off, but I'm going to say about maybe 20 years ago is when airline companies started with their carbon footprint. Right. And that was really, really important. And today, when you book travel, you're actually able to offset your carbon your carbon footprint. Right. So if you want to choose that as an option when you're booking your travel, you can actually do that. If you think about our earlier years of traveling, that wasn't even an option. We didn't think about that. We didn't think about the environment. If you think about society today and you think about, how we're talking about global warming and all of that and the effects that travel has, whether it's by plane or car or train, all of that impacts the environment. So I think we're living in a very different world. I unfortunately, and I'm not going to say I'm ashamed to say, I don't take that into consideration when I'm booking my travel. And I just think it's because of how I've been used to doing things, right? So, I'm obviously a little bit more mindful because of, the society and the world that we live in, but it is not something that I take into consideration. I'm probably going to get a lot of feedback and slack from our listeners on that, but, I got to be true to who I am.
Yeah. And I think that as society is changing, it's easier and easier to bring those things into consideration. Like the fact that we can even push a button and say, yes, I would like to offset my carbon footprint. Like we can choose to do that. I do think that financially, as my family, that's a family of 4. Yes, maybe we are doing certain things inside and affecting the environment a little bit more than we should. At the same time, financially, it's like a consideration. Kind of an offshoot, I'll say, is although we don't think about it a lot in our travel, we definitely do think about it when we are purchasing goods or the type of local people that we are supporting. I'll say that we are, as a family, more aware about how if we're buying something from China, it's coming to the US, like what is that carbon footprint for that? So I think we're more aware in different areas of life, but it hasn't quite crept into this luxury that is travel. And that's something we want to spend money on and we want to do for the culture of our children. But it's important that we talk about it, especially because I'm sure it'll be important to other Xennials that are listening. So definitely opening this up for conversation and no judgment on any side. But how do you like, maybe we can learn from other people, like share. How do you bring this consideration into your travel um, and into your lifestyle so that you can continue to travel, but still bring in those ideas of carbon footprint and, eco-friendly spaces and everything. So, very interesting topic to start out with, but it's important for sure. The other part of that is ethical considerations. Obviously, I think we are at a space in society where we are more aware of how the things we're doing are affecting others in society. I don't know what that right word is. I'm going to stay away from any. I don't know if it's Kurt culture or what, but I don't want to grab any term that might make people feel weird. Overall, we just have to be aware. Like, there are so many different societies that we're a part of when we travel, and just being considerate and understanding that we're going into somebody else's space when we're traveling, I think is super important. Any thoughts on that, the ethical considerations?
Yeah, I think for us when we travel, it's really about immersing ourselves in the local culture. That is one of the things. I don't think we do it as much when we travel, for example, to the US or Canada. But if we're traveling to Europe, it's definitely something that we want to do. Like if we're traveling anywhere in Europe, it's like, okay, what are the small towns? Where can we immerse ourselves in the local culture and meet the locals and have dinner with the locals, as opposed to being in very high populated tourist cities. So, and that goes hand in hand with supporting, the local economy. And so I think for us, that's very important. I don't think, but I like what you said about being respectful of local cultures and how we integrate and put ourselves into those communities is really important.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, if you have never traveled into a country where you do not speak the language, it is very difficult, I think, to really get this and understand this. One of the first big trips that we took our kids on was to Japan, and my daughter turned 5 there, and my son was 7. So we had smaller kids, and we were going to a country we did not speak the language at all. Thankfully, my sister had lived there for a couple of years, so we were with family. But it was such an amazing space to really just be humbled as somebody, especially in American culture. Like, I can go into any space and just probably speak just fine with whoever's there. But it's a humbling experience. And I do think that it's important for us to understand that when the tides are turned, right? Like, when we have other cultures that are visiting the US and we meet them in some kind of public place, to be understanding of that. And that's one big thing that I took from those spaces, is that, yes, we are enjoying this culture. As a quick story, this really beautiful moment in Japan, my daughter had just turned 5. We went to a market and we were picking up several different pieces of porcelain at this beautiful market. And Evelyn she had money of her own. She had yen that she was going to go spend, and she found something that she wanted to purchase. So I encouraged her to go up to the people who were selling and to say that she wanted to purchase. And of course, we don't speak the language, so it's very hand gestures and like very kind. And the person that was manning that station had her daughter come out. It's either daughter or granddaughter. So these 2 girls who are 5 years old in different cultures were able to interact. And it was just a really beautiful and immersive experience for a 5-year-old to say, you can have this interaction and purchase and be thankful for it. but I think that that's the whole space of just being very considerate of where we're traveling and understanding that we can immerse ourselves in the culture a little bit more. And I don't know about you, and you've said this already, but I'm assuming that other people do the same. That is why we travel. We want to learn more about other cultures. Um, and for us, we want to bring our kids there. And for you, like you want to support those cultures to continue on, right? Like they have an industry that is alive because you're going there and you're spending money at the local places and enjoying that. So, just a beautiful, really wonderful space to be in. And I think that that's the mindset that I want to bring to it. Just being gracious that we're able to be a part of those communities a little bit more.
I love that story that you shared. And I've heard very good things about Japan, and a lot of people highly recommend going to Japan. What's interesting as you were telling that story is the communication between these two little girls and how they were able to communicate. Today, we have technology that eliminates that kind of human interaction, where, you see it online. Like if you want to communicate, you now put out your phone and it'll speak, you just have to say it in your language and it'll output in their language, right? Which I think is great because, that's the way of the world. But I think because of who we are as Xennials, we crave that type of human interaction like your daughter had with, that other little girl, which is really interesting. And I think I would choose that experience over today's experience, just because of that human connection and how it brings me back to the way I was brought up. I think one of the experiences when you're traveling is figuring out how to humanly, like how to interact with that local culture, right? So my background is Italian and French Canadian. So I speak English as well too. And I would say dabble a little bit in the Spanish language, but when I'm in a country where I can use, these 4 different languages to interact with people, I will, versus taking out my phone and saying, hey, I want to buy this purse or I want to order this plate, right? So I think that's really beautiful. And I think that, my preferred way would be that way, and to continue to, interact with the different cultures in that way.
Yeah. And I think that that's in respect of being a traveler overall. Like that's what we choose to take on as travelers. So it's a beautiful space. I want to make sure we keep talking about some other cool things. The other thing we had on our topic list was the future of travel and emerging destinations. I don't know. When I think about where we're going to go and what we're going to do, I always think of like places that are going to educate. I don't know that everybody thinks like that, but I like to think of places to educate. I also like to think of how we can support public lands and the places that are there. I don't necessarily have like, this is a space that I want to go to. I consider a family a lot. So I think of places that are going to be safe for them to go to. And when I'm considering where to go and how to do that, I take that into consideration as well. I don't know if that's future trends or not, but the culture is always changing, right? Like currently at this recording, there are definitely countries that are not safe for us to travel to because of unrest, because of whatever the considerations are. But at the same time, 10, 20 years ago, there might have been places that weren't safe to travel to that are now. So I think that that's just something to think about, that things are always changing. And I know that I have to break as my like Xennial straight on, like what was as a kid isn't necessarily there now. Like my parents could have told me it was so dangerous to travel to this whatever place, where I just need to be more open about it now. And I can't be hard set in my ways. So what are your thoughts on emerging destinations?
Yeah. So one that comes to mind for me, and if I kind of put it through the filter that you just went through, is Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about when we were growing up, Colombia was a very dangerous destination. The drugs, Pablo Escobar, like all of that growing up, right? It was not the place that you wanted to be. Today, it is a popular emerging destination. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually on my list. I would love to visit Colombia, but knowing that it is now a safe place to go, right? If you would have asked me this probably 15, 20 years ago, I would have said, no way, absolutely not. But I think those are, for me, that's probably one on the top of my list.
Yeah, I love
I
that.
I just want to go back to, like, even when you were saying, um, what draws me to destinations is that learning, is the culture. And for that reason, I'm always drawn to Europe because I find that there's so much that you can learn in Europe, no matter where you go. So my actual travel bucket list, aside from Colombia, is to go to different countries in Europe. We've done Croatia, we've done Italy, we've done France, we've done Germany, but just to venture out and learn more about those cultures and how people live is definitely, how we like to travel and kind of as we go through our bucket list. The other thing I just wanted to quickly mention is it's not emerging destinations, but I think a lot of my travel bucket list or my destinations are decided upon, like, based on how I live. So I'll give you an example, right? And people may laugh at me, but this is, I watch Yellowstone, you know? Never knew about Yellowstone National Park, how beautiful it is. And if I drive south, I will end up there. Probably will have to make some turns, but I'm not too far away from it. If I wouldn't have seen that, I probably would have never thought to visit
Mm-hmm.
Montana, right? And it's just absolutely beautiful, right? So, because of my lifestyle, because, we like to watch certain shows, even though it's not meant to, well, it is probably meant to promote Montana a little bit because they do a really good job, but it is absolutely beautiful. So that is now a destination that I want to visit just because of, that show. So kudos to them if that was part of their marketing strategy because it worked. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and as you were talking, it kind of brought to mind like emerging destinations are probably coming up because we are changing people, right? Like
Mhm.
what you would want to do, where you wanted to travel when you were 20 probably was different than where you want to travel as you're getting into like mid 40s, 50s. And the types of, I know we talked about this in the last episode. So again, if you guys have not gone back and listened, please do. But things are different. Like we want to have certain experiences because we are older. I definitely traveled differently when my kids were little, young. And now that we're getting into teenage years, we want them to have different types of experiences. So we definitely travel differently throughout that. And that might be the emerging destinations part, is there's these destinations that are open because we are now just moving into different phases of life. And as Xennials move into this next phase, into 40s, 50s, 60s, there will be different things that we find are important to experience and who we experience them with. So it's very exciting there. Um, Other thoughts are just how we travel and innovations in that. Not only the destinations and where we're going, but how we're getting there. I know my family is very focused on electric vehicles and what we can do with that. We really, really, really want to be a part of that community. Again, there's a financial support side of things. Like I can't necessarily easily buy a vehicle that will make it up the mountain that I live on. I live on a dirt road up a mountain and will sustain a long enough charge for me to get in from a rural area to a more to travel around even a couple hours away and to hold my family of four plus a dog. So there's these innovations that I know are going to come to us and will really change how we travel and and what we do. Like, I am sure that there are people that are listening that have electric vehicles that plan differently than us who are still using gas vehicles, right? Like, we are looking for a gas station, which is every other exit, where electric probably isn't. So I think that there are some cool innovations out there. Anne-Marie, you also talked about like innovations with, communication and the phones and like how we travel and those things. And those might become more integrated into our everyday life so that we can speak and communicate more, I guess easily would be the right word, but I don't know. What other thoughts do you think on innovations?
Yeah, I think travel, and we talked about this in episode 1 of this, but innovations, there's virtual reality, right? Like, has anybody done that? Has anybody, that is a thing now. If you can literally travel, visit a destination in the comfort of your own home if you have that right technology. So I have never done it, but I'd love to hear from any of our listeners if you have and what your experience has been, if that has, encouraged you to, go to a destination. I like the element of surprise. So I think I would probably skip out on that and actually go. I was having this conversation. We were in Miami last week having this conversation with my sister-in-laws about, you Google a destination and you literally have like all of the sites you want to see, and you see it actually before you get there. I actually like that element of surprise to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to the place and I'm going to see it for the first time with my own eyes. And I think for me, that's a lot more impactful and special in my overall travel experience. I will just share one experience with you. For those of you who have not been to Italy, I highly, if you ever are making your way there, you must go to Matera. Matera is a beautiful, beautiful city. It is on, it is a, what is it? Oh my God. It is escaping a World Heritage. Is that what it is? The World. Anyways, I will put it in the comments. The UNESCO site. Sorry, that's it. It is a World UNESCO site. But we literally got there. I was told you have to go to this destination. We pulled up to this, it was just kind of a brick wall, got out of the car, and it overlooked the whole city. I was literally in tears from, what I had seen, because I could not imagine. I had seen some pictures of it, but until I actually got there, it was quite the experience. So, that is the way I like to travel. But let's keep it open to anybody. What are your, travel innovations when it comes to technology, sustainable travel? What does that mean to you? Virtual reality? We'd love to hear from you guys, because I don't think it's something that we're experts in or have even tried. So we'd love to hear our listeners' thoughts and feedback on that.
Yeah, definitely. And there might be some things that we are not considering, like how you like to travel. I know we have aunts and uncles that want to take themselves out of their city and plop themselves into a resort and have people bring drinks, and they want to sit at the pool and they want to just stay there, where that's completely fine. It's just we travel differently. So there might be other ways that you travel that we'd love to hear about. So keep the conversation going. Let us know in the chat. We are so thankful that you've let us share a little bit about our travel experiences and how we are thinking about things. Please, again, be sure to go back to part 1 if you haven't listened to that. And we will see you in the next episode, because we have some other great, amazing topics and some new guests that are going to join us. So we will see you there. Bye.
Have a great day. Bye.
And that's a wrap for this week's episode of Xennial Mindset Show. We hope that you enjoy the deep dive into unique perspectives that defines our generation. A big shout out to our incredible guest Xennials who shared their stories and insights. If you want to stay connected and continue the conversation, please follow us on social media at the Xennial Mindset Show. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Your feedback means the world to us.
Join us again next week as we unpack even more captivating topics, unraveling the threads of the Xennial experience. Until then, this is Marie Mack and AMP signing off. Keep embracing the Xennial mindset and remember, the best is yet to come.